Race 2 of the weekend here at Spa-Francorchamps in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. The cars making their way on to a circuit that is not quite dry and it's not quite damp. It's typical fickle Spa weather that we've got, and the drivers having to think about tyres. They are going to start on slicks, I'm sure, but you never know whether it's going to get better or worse over the next 50 minutes, which is what we have for race 2 of Lamborghini Super Trofeo. We had an interesting race yesterday that was won by Dan Pell and Danny Cruz, and for today, with the cars making their way to the grid, we are missing the car that would have started on pole position, because Noah Watt had an accident late race yesterday, and although he got out of the car and was very, very frustrated, the car had some damage and he was quite badly shaken, I think, in the incident. So the car has been withdrawn, and that promotes to pole position the car of Kevin Gelardoni and Leonardo Porcini that was only 5th yesterday after a lap 1 spin. So they're hoping for better fortune. Now, we understand that there might be even a car that's got problems on this outlet getting round to the grid. We'll double check that in just a moment as the drivers then get themselves set for this 50-minute race. Mandatory pit stops, and there is the car of Han Hui Lin that spun out of the race yesterday, and it has ground to a halt on the way up the Camel Straight today. So the Chinese driver is having a pretty torrid time. Yesterday he did lead his class until the spin, but Han Hui Lin out of the race even before he's got to the grid. So whatever has struck, it's clearly pretty serious, because straight away the marshals have dragged the car behind the barrier there, and it is going no further. So disappointment for Han Hui Lin in the extreme. David Addison trackside, Gemma Scott down on the grid, and the teams then getting set for this 50-minute race, with many of the cars being double driver entries, but of course we've got some soloists as well. Let's go to Gemma on the grid.
Well, in yesterday's race you started 14th, climbed up to 4th. Today from 2nd on the grid, it looks like you're in a prime position.
Yeah, well, yesterday was a really hectic race. We started P14, we made a lot of overtakes with great pace. Today, starting from P2, should be easier, and we're just hoping to have a good race, hoping to finish in the podium or get a win, so yeah.
The weather conditions certainly haven't been easy so far this morning, with rain falling intermittently.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. You know, Spa, it's really strange with the weather, so let's hope it's dry, or we will see.
Thank you very much, have a good race.
Thank you.
Well, Gutzman had a sizable accident here last year, and it's good to have him back going so well and exorcising those demons. The car just having cool air blown to the front of it to reduce any temperatures on the grid. There's the pole car that is going to be started in this race by Leonardo Porcini. The car that you've just been looking at of Raoul Gutzman is started by Glenn van Berlo. Danny Cruz, yesterday's winner with Dan Pell, is going to be on the second row of the grid, and for today's race it is Dan Pell who will start, and 4th on the grid is the car of Bonaldi Motorsport with Milan Tikens due to go first in today's race. We've lost a few over the course of the weekend, because we also had the Semoulin father and sons in strife in qualifying, and also newcomers at the championship, Jordan Witt and David Fairbrothers' car damaged in Q2. That was withdrawn as well. That was even before we got to the Noah Watt incident out of yesterday's race. Now, on pole position is number 11. Yesterday, Kevin Gelardoni, in his stint, had a spin. He will do the second stint today. He's with Gemma.
Kevin promoted to pole, but that's still pole position, still the best place to be.
Yeah, we had a good race yesterday, even if we had a small contact in the first lap that caused a spin for me. And we were in first row, and we are promoted to pole position because of the not participation of Bat and Baltasar. I hope and I wish to him a good recovery. But today it's another day, another race, and we will do our best to win the race. So they will start, and we will do the 101% all together to win.
Certainly so far this season you've proven that you've got a great pace, and something really for these guys to fight against.
Yeah, the level is very high compared also to last year. We are like 4 or 5 cars chasing for the win, so we are here and we will do, as always, our maximum, and the result will be only the end of our work during the race.
Thank you, have a great race.
Very much.
Kevin Gelardoni and Leonardo Porcini, winners at Paul Ricard in both races. One, if you like, on merit, one after the car of Jonathan Cecotto and Kevin Rossell picked up a penalty, and then they had a third win in the second race at Zandvoort. Yesterday, as you look down at the winning car, it was number 33 of Dan Pell and Danny Cruz that took the win. Second, Jonathan Cecotto and Kevin Rossell, and third, soloist Max Weering, who's been a race winner himself this year at Monza at the start of the season. There you've got the car of Milos Pavlovic and Petar Matic. It's going to start fifth on the grid. Pro-Am honours yesterday to Karel Basch and Andrei Lewandowski. Not for the first time, because that for them was win number 4. The Am category yesterday fell for the first time to Gerhard Watzinger, and in the Lamborghini Cup it was Pierre Vergioni and Daniel Wyszynski taking a third victory of the season. So there is the grid as we get set, the grid being cleared in fact now. Michael Durbecker, number 6, is the next driver we can hear from. He is with Jam.
Michael Atley, car number 6, starting in 6th. A little bit of work ahead of you guys for the start, and this is a hungry grid, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting race. Obviously, everyone is looking at the clouds to see what the weather will do. Yesterday, we made up a couple of positions from 11th to 6th again, so let's hope we can make some more positions today.
If it rains, how wet does it need to get to change onto wet tyres?
I think everyone will be looking at the lap times they do, and once they get around 6-7 seconds slower than we're used to, you will see everyone pulling into the pits, but everyone will try to stretch it out until the pit window opens, obviously.
Wait and see what happens. Have a great race.
Thank you.
Thanks,
and
Michael.
Greetings to everyone in Mexico who woke up to watch the race. Thank you.
And Michael Durbecker, one of the 2 Mexicans on the grid, showing the global reach of the championship. And there is Max Wearing's car, 3 minutes to go. The grid now, as I say, being cleared of people. And it's good that we have people here. A lot of work has gone into this event by SRO and by the RACB to let spectators and guests at the 24 hours this year, which is for which this Super Trofeo round runs. You'll see the gap on the grid there where we no longer have the car of Han Hui Lin, so that missing from the grid. But very shortly it'll be engines fired up. 1 formation lap. The road just about dry, but it's been declared a wet race. The reason for that is it puts the emphasis on the teams. They then have to make that decision about tyre choice. Ideally, if you do have to change tyres, you want that to coincide with your regulation pit stop, and there are different pit stop times depending on whether you are a 1 or 2 driver entry. So the single driver cars are deemed to have the advantage because the driver knows what the car and track feels like either side of the pit stop. So they stop for 3 seconds longer, and they get 3 extra seconds of drive time as well. So you stop for 63 and you drive for 31 down the pit lane, whereas it's 60 and 28 for the 2 driver entries. 66, the car of Josef Zaruba for the first stint of the race. 61 there is for Johan Kran's team. Max Weering, race winner, and he's ready to go. Right, distinctive helmet. And number 7 is a car that has led the majority of races this year but hasn't won one yet. Kevin Rossell and Jonathan Cecotto. And although Jonathan is quick, Kevin Rossell not as quick, seemingly, and therefore, like yesterday, the car just lost out a little bit in that second stint when Kevin Rossell was behind the wheel, and he's going to start today with Jonathan Cecotto bringing that car home. So very shortly, the engines will fire up. Dan Wells, the Asian-based Brit, Formula Pelota champion in China. Dan, much underrated driver, and very, very quick. Actually, whether it's on a real-world circuit or a sim circuit, because he's another esports star, he's good to go in the car that he shares with Oscar Lee. And Andrei Lewandowski is going to be class opposition in that Pro-Am battle against Dan Wells. He's going to go first in number 16. Also, Dimitri Guzasava is going to be one to watch within that category as well. So the grid now being cleared. And the leading car, pace car as it will be, will set off in a moment and take them around for this final warming up lap, a chance to get a bit of warmth into the Pirelli tyres on which they run, and then we will be in business. So all the mechanics, the championship personnel being shepherded off the grid, ready to go. So the Urus blasts away, and on instruction from race director Daniele Galbiati, the green flag can be waved, the race cars can set off as well now. Great sight, great sound they make, and the Oregon car on pole position. Oregon, a team new to the championship this year, those familiar colours gracing Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Porcini's car. Porcini starting on pole position with Glenn Van Berlo lining up second. It's Dan Pell who will start third for Bonaldi, and his teammate Milan Tikens, another Bonaldi entrant, therefore is alongside. Fifth is where you find another Bonaldi car, Milos Pavlovic, and sixth is Mattia Michelotto from VS Racing, Vincenzo Sospiri's team. Seventh for Johan Krahn Motorsports is Max Weering, and Josef Zaruba will go first for the Michenek Motorsport team. Ninth is Dan Wells, 10th is Kevin Rossell, 11th on the grid Dimitri Vatsabar, and then you've got alongside him Andrei Lewandowski, Mark Rostin and Massimo Siglia share row 7. The 8th row of the grid, Gabriele Irindoni, and it would have been Han Hui Lin, but he is missing from the grid. Row 9, Matthias Hofstümer and Gerhard Watzinger. The 10th row of the grid is where you find Donovan Pripitelio, and lining up alongside him is going to be J.M. Littman to go first in the GSM Racing entry. Gerard van der Horst shares the 11th row with the winners of the Am Cup, the Lamborghini Cup yesterday, Daniel Bashinsky and Pierre Feligioni. Bashinsky starts ahead of Nikolai Gadetsky and Hans Fabry, with Igor Dvoracek, Kumar Prabhakaran and Oliver Frymart completing the grid. So as the field now makes the run down into Bruxelles, they'll get themselves at the end of this lap into the 2x2 formation, ready to go racing. There, number 27, another of the Oregon cars, the Spanish driver Guillaume Roujoy and Italian Massimo Siglia, another of the Pro-Am entries that. So 50-minute race, rolling start, mandatory pit stop between 20 and 30 minutes. And we've had some great racing out of the Super Trofeo this season. There is, of course, the North American Championship, and under normal circumstances there is a winter series in the Middle East of 3 rounds, and an Asian Championship as well, but it rather looks as though Asian Championships are having to be cancelled again. Announcements being made today about GT Series having to be postponed for another year, just because of not the levels of the pandemic out there, but the quarantining situation, and therefore you have the problem where drivers just cannot go in and out of countries in order to race, and it makes it incredibly difficult for anybody to think about a championship other than maybe a one-off event, and that's yet another concern for race organisers. So down they come into campus. It's still dry, but there are patches of damp around the circuit, and the drivers make the run now slowly up through the Cours Paul Fred. They'll get themselves in the rolling start formation shortly. There is Leonardo Porcini lining up on pole position. Porcini has come into Super Trofeo this year out of single-seater racing, and Leonardo Porcini has looked good in the races that we have seen thus far. So he starts this race on pole position. Leonardo, for the Oregon team, was a Lamborghini driver in the Italian GT Championship last year. Did a couple of years of FIA Formula 3, but go back to 2016, won for Formula 3 style machinery the Euro Formula Open title. He's raced in GP3 as well, and Kevin Gilardoni, having raced in the Megane Euro Cup and Formula Renault runner-up in the championship last year. So they're a good combination in that Oregon entry, and it is a very slow end to this formation lap, isn't it? Because as they come now into the approach to the chicane, I think the race director is rather concerned that they've not yet got themselves in the 2x2 side-by-side formation that is required. So now they do, and the Lamborghini Urus will go to the pit lane. All the cars, and the safety car too, carrying the Croix-Rouge.be stickers for the Belgian Red Cross, again to thank the organisation for everything that it did in the recent horrendous floods and the devastation that that caused. And it's a nice gesture from Lamborghini, and encouraging people to donate if they can. Now let's concentrate on the track for a moment, because race 2 of the weekend is about to get underway. Different drivers to start today than started yesterday's race. Out then of the bus stop chicane they come, and we are set to go racing when the lights blink to green, which they do now, and away they go with a good start being made by Leonardo Porcini from pole position down towards La Source for the first time. Dan Pell in the red car, yesterday's winner, gets up on the inside line. On the outside, it is Glenn Van Berlo. They drop out of the hairpin and now head down past the endurance pits on lap 1. A good getaway then is made by that race-leading Oregon car of Leonardo Porcini, and someone's picked up some damage there in the pack already. There's one car from 2/3 of the way down the grid with damage. Smoke coming off the front of it. We'll try and identify it in a moment as they climb the hill. But there, the black and orange entry just going through shot has a problem. Privitello was off the road as well. Should be Luciano Privitello to start, Donovan Privitello to start today's race, but the timing screen saying that it is Luciano. But now as they go into the Les Combes sequence, it is Glenn Van Berlo in second, keeping at bay the red and black car of Dan Powell that won yesterday's race. The teenager looking really, really impressive in his maiden season in these cars. Through they turn for the opening lap of the race then, and an effort is made lower down the order by Dimitri Vatsar to try and get a past Dan Wells, but he didn't do it coming into Bruxelles. So down towards Paul they come for the first time. And Dimitri Vatsar still hustling on as he tries to pass Wells, but Dan Wells closing onto the back now of Kevin Rossell, trying to retake that place as they thread their way downhill. So as the cars now make the run into the right-left of the pith path, battles rage across the four classes. Looking further down the order there, number 70 Gerhard Watzinger, class winner yesterday. The American driver goes down into Campus, and then the Cour Paul Frere looping them round up towards the end of this opening lap of the race. So Leonardo Porcini trying to make good his escape. There is that the car with damage, which will be the number 10 Leipert car, Matthias Hofsumer at the wheel of it. Actually, it looked worse at the start of the lap than it does now, so maybe any bodywork that was grinding against a tyre has been flecked away. But Hofsumer, a little bit of smoke evident there. Look, as the car went up towards Blanchimont, he's pressing on and hopefully can get as far as the pit stops rather than having to waste time by an extra pit stop to get that sorted. Down towards the chicane, battle is on here, and Gerhard Watzinger under attack as he breaks for the chicane. Right there with him is Hofsumer. They both go a little bit deep into the chicane, but the leaders go by at the end of lap one. Leonardo Porcini leading by over a second. Glenn Van Berlo is in second place. Dan Pell runs third. Milan Tikens runs fourth. Milos Pavlovic is fifth, and Josef Zaruba sixth at the moment. Pavlovic is the leader in Pro-Am. And another good fight lower down is Josef Zaruba versus Mattia Michelotto. Here they are, the VS Racing car, the white entry, right there on the back of the Czech driver as they make the run up the hill. Serbian Pavlovic in the green Pro-Am entry ahead of them, and behind the battle you're looking at is Max Weering in 8th place. Leaders turn into Les Combes then. Gap at the end of the opening lap, just over a second between Porcini and Van Berlo. Up they come then with the challenge on. 61 Lamborghini goes through, that Max Weering, and he's getting a little bit closer to the traffic ahead now. There, number 21, into the braking zone for Bruxelles. Gabriel Ridoni, the Luxembourg driver, who has been really quick this year, but very unlucky. Every time you think he's on target for a class win, something crops up, like an incident or a penalty for pit stop dramas. So he's not really been able to show what he's capable of. The race leaders then swoop through Paul once more. Porcini trying to build this gap over Van Berlo, but as you look there at Zaruba and Michelotto, 6th and 7th, Max Weering is closing up on them now. Through the right, through the left, they turn. Further down the order, Marc Rostin is leading the Am class for Poussin-Gignon in the car that he shares on occasions, and this is one of them with Claude-Yves Gosselin. Both of them old stagers with many, many years of sports car racing experience, whether it's in prototypes or GT, and indeed going back to single-seaters, Formula 3000 for both many, many, many years ago. So the first 5 minutes nearly up, as you see there, sweeping through Josef Zaruba. Right there on his tail, look, is Mattia Michelotto set to make a move as they come way over the curb out of Blanchimont. And that's exactly the kind of track limit situation that gets race control all excited. Michelotto dives up the inside, goes through, and gets the car slowed down for the corner, doesn't lose any time. Brilliant effort, that really, really well executed move. So Michelotto goes through, runs very wide on exit, unfortunately. That might rather undermine all of the good work, but he comes across the line for the moment in that place. And now Max Weering goes to the inside line as well. A real dive by Zaruba, that was not on surely, and it's ended up with contact. Michelotto got a whack, Zaruba's got a punctured tyre and possibly damaged suspension. That, I think, was a bit too optimistic, wasn't it? Yes, there was a gap, but, oh, blimey. Through he came on the inside line, and Mattia Michelotto getting rather dive-bombed there by Josef Zaruba, so that has put that car out of the race. Let's have a look. He comes from a long way back, doesn't he? He's trying to fend off Max Wearing, I think. Suddenly commits to the inside line, but he was always going to go out wide. And Michelotto suddenly tries to turn into a corner, and there's a missile coming up on the inside of him. So Matteo Michelotto, when he last checked his mirrors, had Zaruba miles behind. All of a sudden, he's made contact with him. So out of the race is Zaruba. Han Hoi-Lin, remember, never got in it. And there is the Pro-Am leader, Milos Pavlovic, heading down through Speaker's Corner, turn 9. And again, he's up the curb, but Pavlovic, hugely experienced. The incident between Zaruba and Michelotto is under investigation. Cool, what a surprise. And there through, in number 54, is Milan Tikans, another of the drivers new to the championship. So Tikans learning about the car all the time and getting quicker and quicker within it. Drove in the series on occasion to last year. He was also last year's Dutch Mazda MX-5 champion, Milan Tikans. As you see Matteo Michelotto go through the right and the left of the pith path, and then down he will go into Campus. But Leonardo Porcini trying to get away. Glenn Van Berlo, who's also racing in the 24 hours here this weekend, is staying pretty much with him. And the gap between the pair, 11 tenths of a second, and Van Berlo is doing good things in sectors. So the leader certainly not escaping. You can see that is the second of the Oregon entries, which is Massimo Siglia. He's got past J.M. Littman, the British driver, so that's a change for 17th place, and now Siglia gets onto the back of Matthias Hofstadter. So Siglia lost a lot of ground early on in the race because he is running lower now, and he's caught up and past people than he was on the grid. So clearly dramas early on have delayed him, and this is the recovery operation as again really wide. There goes Hofstadter. He gets to the inside of Gerhard Watzinger as they come down towards the chicane, and to the outside line goes Siglia, brakes really late and gets a bit squeezed there. So Hofstadter keeps him at bay. Watzinger keeps him at bay, I should say, as they come up towards the line. But the car of Gerhard Watzinger runs in the Am class, whereas the Oregon entry is Pro-Am. So in a sense, Watzinger could be advised to let him go, then he doesn't get involved in a fight he doesn't need to be having. The incident between Zaruba and Michelotto is going to be looked at after the race, by the way, so nothing's going to come of that immediately. But either way, it doesn't really make too much of a difference because Zaruba's car parked by the side of the road, not going much further. Out wide goes Siglia, but he's gained the place then, so he moves himself up and past Gerhard Watzinger now. So Siglia goes 14th. And this is the run up towards Les Combes then. The Oregon car making its way back up through the field into 14th place. The sister car leads outright at the moment. Gerhard Watzinger out of Les Combes goes through the right-handed element now and plunges down the hill. Track limit warnings are coming, and one of them is for Gerhard Watzinger. There he is, number 70. And as he's lost a little bit of time on this lap, so behind, Matthias Hofstadter is getting closer to him all the time. Out of the left, and a big spin for Siglia coming out of turn 9. Around he goes, nudges the barrier. How much harm has that done? Hopefully he can get going again. It was a long slide that he had. Eventually the car nudges the wall, gets going again, but after his hard work to regain places, Massimo Siglia has just chucked them all away again. So Siglia back on track. And it looks as though we might be on for a bit of rain within the next 15-20 minutes max, depending on which weather radar you look at. And there, a big dive down towards the pith path. Oliver Frymart that was, in the black car, black and gold car. Experienced one-mate Renault racer of many years, but had dramas at the qualifying sessions yesterday. The rain is falling at turns 14 and 15, incidentally, which is this section of the circuit, so don't be surprised if cars now start to slither out wide. Siglia with nice warm tyres at least, coping with the track conditions, but as Oliver Frymart tries to make a move against number 5 there up the road, the car of Nikolai Gardetsky, he goes past him. Siglia now gets past Frymart as well, so recovering despite that spin and that contact with the barrier, Massimo Siglia presses on. But the rain is starting to fall, which is going to make the track surface very slippery indeed. So down into the chicane goes Donovan Privitello in the car run by the FFF racing team, the same one that is, of course, so successful in international GT3 racing. This is their offshoot for the Super Trofeo. Siglia goes over the line for Oregon, and we are then 10 minutes into the race, and a wet race it has been declared, and it could be getting even wetter. That's the leader with the gap down to 0.6 of a second. So Leonardo Porcini being caught by Glenn Van Berlo here. Into Speaker's Corner they turn, down through that left-hander. Porcini into Pouon, wiper on for Van Berlo behind him in second place. And in theory, you've got the faster driver in these cars, so it'll be interesting to see how they divvy up the race. But right now, Glenn Van Berlo really charging. Raoul Gutzmann would dearly love a Spa win to avenge what happened to him last year when he had that big accident heading down past the endurance pits. 24 Oliver Frymart there gains a place from Daniel Waszinski going up into Les Combes. Daniel Waszinski, who shares with Pierre Legioni, class winners yesterday. And there the cars come over the brow from Les Combes down to Bruxelles. Turn their way through what's possibly becoming a rather more slippery section of the circuit now. But from the highest point, drop down the hill now, wriggle down through Bruxelles, down through Pouon. Wiper on Primitelio's car, there you can see, which is in 17th place, but may not be for long because Siglia is right there behind. Nikolai Gaidetscu just seen forced wide at Pouon, but there's Oliver Frymart in the background trying to go with Siglia. Siglia now up behind Donovan Primitelio. Leader goes through. Leonardo Porcini ahead of Glenn Van Berlo now by 1.8 seconds. That last lap much quicker by Porcini than Van Berlo, so having seen the gap come down to fractions, it has now really shot up again to 1.8 seconds, more than doubled now. There is in 5th place Dan Pell, so yesterday's winner, helped by a really good stint by Danny Cruz, ahead of fellow countryman Max Weering. They just switched order there, 5th and 6th places. Now that he's got clear of the traffic, what can Dan Pell do about Milos Pavlovic? And Pavlovic leads Pro-Am 4th overall, but he is quicker than his co-driver, which is Petar Matic. So it could be that that car falls back in the second stint, as now, look, Mattia Michelotto comes up to have a go for position as well. The field storming up towards Les Combes. Big slide under braking from Dan Pell, and a big slide also there by Michelotto, who can't get it slowed down in time, and he's off the racetrack, over the curb. There's evidence that the state of the circuit is changing up at the top of Les Combes. Number 7, Kevin Rossell, tries now to get up the inside line as they come over the brow down towards the right-hander of Bruxelles, and he goes through, gains a place then, so Rossell takes the place away from Michelotto. But you saw the way the cars were struggling to slow because the circuit is getting greasy, not wet, but greasy really, up at the top of the hill. Dan Wells in the back of this little shot. There he is, going through in another of the Pro-Am entries. He is 2nd in Pro-Am, sharing with Oscar Lee. And Dan, based in the Far East these days, but the British driver went with a good career path very early on to China, won the Formula Pilota series and has made a good reputation for himself out in that region, in single-seaters, in GT cars, in touring cars, in Super Trofeo, and back in Europe with Asian customers. And Dan driving with and coaching Oscar Lee, who we've also seen racing in the past within the European Series, so it's good to have him back in the championship this year. A bit like Han Hoi Lin, with no racing in Asia at the moment. Drivers looking to put together a season or a part season in Europe. Massimo Siglia then goes through, gets back ahead of J.M. Littman. He passed him earlier on in the race, but he got back ahead of J.M. now. And Littman under attack from Oliver Frymart as the field comes through Pouon this time. So Frymart in the black and gold livery, up on the outside line, and Oliver Frymart gets his nose in front. Further back, Primitelio comes under attack there, look, from Daniel Waszinski, and Frymart did get ahead of Littman. Milan Tikans there going through 4th, 5th behind him, Milos Pavlovic. That's the race leader. So Leonardo Porcini with 5 more minutes until the pit window opens, pounds uphill again. Wiper on from Glenn Van Berlo in 2nd, and drama there for Daniel Waszinski, who has had a spin. I just wondered whether he might not have had a punctured tyre because the right rear didn't look quite right, and he carries on. But let's just see. Comes down into the corner, and yes, he might well have a punctured tyre out of that because there was contact, wasn't there? So that was Nikolai Gadetsky on the inside, and as number 12 tries to rejoin, bound for the pits, I fear, is Daniel Waszyński. So that might well get looked at by the race officials as well, as Dan Wells here turns through the right of Bruxelles, the road plunging downhill at this section. Real roller coaster of a circuit is Spa. And so Dan Wells, touring cars, GT cars, single-seaters, you name it, very competitive in both, and presses on. That incident we've just been looking at is under investigation, by the way, so the stewards have a look at the contact and decide whether it was a racing incident or whether Gadetsky has a case to answer. Matthew Michelotto through the piff-paff, and now sprinting once again on to the Paul Frere section of the circuit, and they're way wide and sideways over the curb. Milan Tikans, and of course as the circuit gets damp, so those wet painted curbs get even more treacherous, and that nearly caught Tikans out there. So they're going through is Milos Pavlovic. He's running in 4th place now, leading in Pro-Am. 2nd in Pro-Am is Dan Wells, but Wells and Lee possibly more evenly matched than Pavlovic and Matic. We'll have to wait and see. Petar Matic gets faster every time out, the Serbian. Leaders go by. Porcini it is, and there is a 10-second penalty at the end of the race for number 5, Nikolai Gadetsky, for that incident. Pavlovic coming out of the right La Source, and what he's got to do in this stint, not really chase the overall top 3, but try and stretch the lead that he's got in his class, because it's the class points for Pro-Am honours that he and Petar Matic are after. Now is the rain increasing up at the top of the hill, because there the wiper is on all the time now as far as the leading cars are concerned. Porcini from Van Berlo, the gap a 1.5 seconds. 3rd is Tikans, 4th is Pavlovic there. 5th was Dan Pell, but Max Weering only a second shy at the start of this lap. Kevin Rossell only in 8th place, so he's leaving Jonathan Cecotto with a lot of work to do. Dimitri Vatsova gets a little bit crossed up coming into the Les Combes sequence, and so also does Andrei Lewandowski behind him, but they both made their way past Dan Wells on this lap. There he is. So Dan Wells' car might have a problem. It's losing pace by the look of it, and he's not being able to catch back up to those two that have just relieved him of position. So he was 9th at the start of the lap, he's 11th by Les Combes. Did he have a moment? Is it a problem? There is Dimitri Vatsova going through the left of Pouan. Behind him, Andrei Lewandowski, the quick Polish driver, multiple champion within this series in Pro-Am and indeed in the World Final, which is due to be held in October for this year at Misano. How worldwide it will be with the travails of the Asian teams, we'll have to wait and see. It would be good to have as many cars there as possible. As you see Dimitri Vatsova, but he shares the 99 with Andrea Kola going through. And there is number 12 in the walls again. That is Daniel Waszyński. He's made a pit stop, he has gone back out, and he has had a drama spinning out of Pouan up against the wall, and that comes at just about the worst time for the race director, because we're about 37 seconds away now from getting the pit stop window open, and another car off is Vatsova. So Dimitri Vatsova has got it wrong. Now where is that? That is in the last sector, I think, but either way Vatsova is off. Coming out of the Cour Paul Frere, around he goes. Does he make contact with the wall? I fear the answer is yes. Slides along the barrier. That could have been a whole lot worse, couldn't it? But more proof of how the track conditions are changing. Dimitri Vatsova gets going again. But what about Daniel Waszyński's car? Is that stranded on the racetrack still? The pit window is open anyway. The race leader, Leonardo Porcini, being caught by Glenn Van Berlo, and there behind is Kumar Prabhakaran. He's got a lap down, the Malaysian driver, but in number 11, Leonardo Porcini, and it is getting worse. There you can see the sheen across the road now, a little bit of spray being generated. They're on slicks, and it's becoming very difficult indeed. Now, if it gets worse, you'll need wets, and there, a big dive by Milan Tikans to get past the back marker. He is certainly bold in doing that, but it worked for him. And Kumar Prabhakaran, I think, to be fair to him as an Am, was rather distracted by trying to keep the car on the road rather than thinking about people coming past him. But the rain is falling more heavily on the pit straight. It's getting more and more treacherous all the way around. And within these pit stops, drivers may well be going onto wet tyres. Of course, if that happens and it dries out, you're going to be in strife again. It's heavy drizzle or light rain. It's at that point, really. It's not torrential yet, but it is certainly coming down. And it's more than just one isolated section of the circuit, that's for sure. So here you've got the car down at the campus right-hander. That's the leader, Leonardo Porcini, and the rain getting heavier on that section of the circuit as well. So now it is a properly shiny circuit as the rain continues to fall. It is getting a little bit heavier again over on the start line. So it feels more like Spa now with the rain falling, and the pit window is open. But if you time this right, do your mandatory pit stop and change tyres at the same time, go onto wets. The car limping around ahead is Daniel Vashinsky, who's got going despite the damage, and that saves the need for a safety car. But there are people going onto wets, including Nikolai Gadetsky, also Luciano Privitello, and the race circuit now is treacherous on slicks. But look, Leonardo Porcini is carrying on. He's not for pitting, and nor is Glenn Van Berlo. Actually, having said that, the rain is falling more heavily on the pit straight, and it is, but it's also getting brighter on the pit straight. So some do bail, others stay out. We'll see at the end of the race which was the right call. There's one car there that just can't turn for the corner on the exit of the chicane. One of the VS Racing cars, that was Mattia Michelotto. Well, Leonardo Porcini is still pressing on. His best lap is a 2:21, but his last was a 2 minutes 40. So the pace of the race has completely ebbed away right now. Leonardo Porcini touches the wet curb at the top of Radiant, whereas the other side of it, which is arguably safer, even though it's taking liberties with the track limits, goes Glenn Van Berlo. So they head into the braking zone, and another squirm there comes from Porcini. Milos Pavlovic has given away number 3 to Peter Matic, and that's going on to wets. So there's a lot being done within these pit stops. The teams that don't have a lot to do normally in the races, other than really time the pit stop and get the tyre pressures absolutely right, they are certainly being kept busy right now. And 54 runs out a road down at Bruxelles. That is Milan Tikans. Fights it back onto the circuit, but Milan Tikans then tiptoes downhill. He's another one on slicks on a wet road, which is getting wetter. And we have gone through that tipping point where now the wet tyres are needed, the slick tyres are losing something like 20 seconds a lap. Porcini turns downhill here. So race leader runs almost out of road into the pith path. Quite often on the outside of a line there's a little bit more grip, but at the moment, because you're on the wrong tyres, slowing the car down becomes a real issue. Now the rain over on the pit straight is easing, so it could well be that those drivers that have gone onto wet tyres are in the wrong. The cloud is breaking above the pit straight, so it's getting brighter, and the rain is easing. It's not stopped, but it's certainly easier than it was a couple of minutes ago. But then you look around Spa, you can see it on these camera shots of the grey skies in different places, and you know that you're not far away from a bit more precipitation. So we're at about the halfway point. Pit window is open, and down to the chicane comes Leonardo Porcini once again. Big slide under braking, controls it. Does he pit this time? No, Porcini will carry on. So he's determined to use his ability, whereas Van Berlo comes in to give way now to Raul Gutzman. Leader goes through again. Road comes Glenn Van Berlo. So Raul Gutzmann will relay him. In the background, you can see others making their stops, including Matteo Michelotto, who is in, Milan Tikens is in, Gabriele Rindoni is in, Massimo Siglia is in, Martin Hofstadter is in, J.M. Littman is in, Hans Fabry is in, Libor Dvoracek is in, so the pit lane is a busy old place at the moment. Milan Tikens giving way to Maxim Usten there. But Leonardo Porcini stays out, another spinner, that is Kumar Prabhakaran, who's got it wrong coming out of La Source. And he did that with a bit of help, maybe? Oh, yes, I think he had a car in the back of him, didn't he? He did. So Kumar Prabhakaran given a right shove, to say, come on, get out of the way. And was that Matthias Hofstadter that was behind him coming out of the pit lane? Looked like it could have been either Hofstadter's car or that of Gerhard Watzinger. And now Kumar Prabhakaran is trying to find somewhere he can turn round. Well, this is going to be really nervy, coming out of La Source to find a car almost blocking the road now. And Kumar Prabhakaran struggling to find the gears. Had he driven off the road and up the hill onto the runoff, it might have been a better idea, but this now is all a bit risky, especially if you can't find the gear or keep the engine going. Daniele Galbiati, the race director, will be looking at this and having kittens, thinking, what do I do? Because he's virtually blocked the road. There's just about room to go around the outside, but this is really heart-in-mouth stuff. I know it's relatively low speed coming out of La Source, but with the road largely blocked by Kumar Prabhakaran, this is all a bit risky to say the least. So is this going to be an interruption? Can Kumar Prabhakaran get the car going again? You can't send any marshals to it because it's in a risky place, and for them to be on the circuit, you pretty much need the race neutralised anyway. So right now, that is the area of concern. Pit stop cycle through, and you'll see there, look, the red car of now Danny Cruz fending off Raul Gutzmann as they come up towards Les Combes, and the race leader is Leonardo Porcini, who in turn comes wide over the curb down towards the chicane. That's the Dan Wells Oscar Lee entry just up the road ahead. Oscar Lee has taken it over, but I think Porcini's going to have to be in this time. Yes, he is, and that's Kumar Prabhakaran who's got going again. So size of relief all round. Kumar Prabhakaran having to cope still with slicks on a wet road, because I tell you, it is much, much brighter now, and the rain has just about stopped over here. It's probably going to come again, but for the moment that shower has passed through. Down the pit lane comes Leonardo Porcini, then he will give way to Kevin Gilardoni. Let's see what this pit stop is going to be like against Max Weering, who was in at the same time. That is Peter Matic, who's taken over from Milos Pavlovic. And in the case of some of the AMs, the less experienced drivers, it may have been a good idea in those pit stops to put the cars onto a wet tyre. There's a yellow flag vigorously waved at the foot of the hill, and that rather goes against the quicker car there in the queue, doesn't it? Because, oh, somebody's gone off the road, and is that Andrea Cola, number 99? It is. Andrea Cola's Target Racing car is on the grass. He did that all on his own. Look, touches the wet curb. It just spits the car out of control. Around goes Cola, and bang. That's a rather flat Cola now, because he's out of the race with the damage, I fear. We had a car in the GT4 race end up pretty much in the same place in the earlier race, but the net result is that having bounced off the wall, that's going to do a lot of damage to the car, even if you can get off the wet grass now. So let's see whether the car is going to be able to stay there, or if it needs retrieval under a caution period. Race leader Kevin Gilardoni now, he's taken over from Leonardo Porcini, and he comes up towards Les Combes into the braking zone. But now, as the pit stops all cycle through, we'll get an idea of the relative pace of these second drivers and where the battles are going to come from. Down towards Bruxelles goes, in fact, I'm telling you a lie, that is the second of the Oregon cars, 27 now, which is the Massimo Siglia to Guillaume Peugeot entry. Guillaume Peugeot, the Spanish driver, has taken that car over. They had a couple of spins with Siglia at the wheel, and Gilardoni in for Porcini. Here is the leading car coming up Radion into Les Combes. Brakes turns in, the traditional piratical sign on the side of the Oregon car. It's a team and a colour scheme that has adorned many a successful race car, from lots of the Renault Championships up to Alfa Romeo 156s in European touring car circles, and a team new into Lamborghini racing, but certainly delivering in style this year. So the pit window is closed. everybody, hopefully now, has made their regulation pit stop. And as they come once more down towards Rouen, the road is starting to dry again because that little shower has passed through and things are starting to look a little bit better. So field turns down through Rouen. They've got, as you can see, the car of the Bonaldi squad, and then also from Petar Matic, the Pro-Am leader from earlier on. Pit window is closed, safety car is now deployed. So the safety car is being deployed, and that's all I suspect for the stranded car of Kohler at the top of the hill. So the race being interrupted, and you can see it. So let's see how this is going to affect the situation with, what have we got, just under 19 minutes of the race to go. Gaps will come down a little bit under the safety car, and the race leader, Kevin Gilardoni, was 17 seconds ahead of Max Wearing, but that's going to disappear. So where is the safety car going to scoop him up? It's going to be at the top of this climb up the Kemmel Straight, up through Radion. So there you've got, the safety car has been deployed, but some of the pack have escaped it. So this might take a little bit of orchestration now. The race leader is coming up towards Blanchimont, and there are quite a few cars that need to be waved past the safety car. So race leader is there. The track map just a little bit behind at the moment, but the safety car has been deployed. So through comes number 11, Kevin Gilardoni at the wheel, and now Raoul Gutzmann, 7/10 of a second behind him. So it's going to be game on between those two when we go racing once more. Downhill, and with Kevin Gilardoni, Raoul Gutzmann, and then Maxime Houston being the top three, they are going to be as one. There you can see the recovery operation about to get underway, and for the race leaders, they will see the safety car this time, so that has let everybody go. We'll pick up the right people. There are a few that need to play catch-up, which of course is one of the downsides to a long lap like this. It takes a little bit longer to get everybody into the right place behind the safety car, but that will be done. Then we'll be good to go in the not too distant. So as the field turns into Les Camps, road going drier, 17 minutes to go. There, number 5, a penalised car after the contact earlier on, but Gregor Mokczulski now is at the wheel of it. And this is a replay of how we've ended up with the safety car. Andrea Kohler touching the curb, losing traction, the car not at that high a speed going around, but it does enough contact with the wall, bouncing off with the front to do the damage. So that car of Kohler being retrieved, and as soon as possible we'll get things back underway, but it's going to be a few minutes yet. Safety car lights flash, downhill it comes. So there is Kevin Gilardoni, the race leader. Raoul Gutzmann second, third Maxime Houston, fourth Max Wearing. Karol Basch fifth, now leading the Pro-Am section. Sixth is Michael Durbecker. Seventh is Oscar Lee, who's in the pit, so that's going to change at the end of the lap because we're going to updated order. This might actually be helping Jonathan Cecotto, because Cecotto will gain seventh, and with the gaps ahead of him having come down, he's in with a really good chance when we get back racing again. Field on lap 13, number 61 you just saw go through, that's Max Wearing's car, and the safety car down through campus. Championship, with the next race is taking place not far away from where we are now, at the Nurburgring, first weekend of September, and then the end of October at Misano for the regular world final event. So there, number 5, Gregor Mokczulski. 17th he runs, 4th in class, but a penalty to be applied at the end of the race for that car. You can see the drivers trying to maintain the temperature in the tyres and the pressures. There, number 65, J.M. Lippmann, has given way to Lorenzo Veglia, Italian GT racer. the safety car brings the field slowly down towards the chicane and into the right-left sequence it will now come. So there is 88. Hans Fabry, he is the leader in the Lamborghini Cup, but behind him is Libor Dvoracek, and Dvoracek not unlikely, I think, to have a go on the restart because he sensed the possibility of a win here. Now, contact between a couple of cars under investigation. It is Kumar Prabhakaran. Danny Cruz is being looked at as the aggressor coming out of the pits. So Danny Cruz in his Bonaldi car may well have been the one that gave the tap in the tail to cause Prabhakaran to spin, and that were rather bad news for Danny Cruz. He's down in 9th place, but he's another one that could be quicker on the restart here. So downhill turns the field, lap 14, 13 minutes and change on the clock. And the safety car going at a slow pace, but understandably at this part of the circuit, because you have the track workers trying to retrieve the car of Andrea Kola and Dimitri Vatseva. So they have to go very slowly past the incident zone and make the climb up then towards Les Combes. Drivers being told to clear around one side, but can't be too far off getting the race back underway, I wouldn't have thought, because the battered car is on the rear of the flatbed. Into Les Combes they turn, and who is it going to be that makes the best of the pit stops? Now, Jonathan Cecotto has come into the pit lane, so Cecotto took advantage of the pace that he has to gain ground over and against what Kevin Rossell was doing, but Jonathan Cecotto into the pits. Now, is that because they gambled on tyres and have had to gamble back again, or change back, or is it something rather more sinister? Either way, Cecotto is into the pit lane, and the car is still shown as in the pits. Number 33, Danny Cruz, Dan Pell's car is being given a 5-second penalty at the end of the race for the contact coming out of the pits, where they nerfed the back of Kumar Prabhakaran, or Danny Cruz nerfed the back of him because he was the man at the wheel of the car at the time. So the cars come through now with just 12 more minutes on the clock. So Kevin Gilardoni would dearly love for this to go all the way to the end, wouldn't it? And a 4th victory go his way, but I don't think it's going to be quite that straightforward. Number 70 turning through, that is the Gerhard Watzinger car, the American-based driver out of the Piff Paff. Watzinger currently running in 18th place overall, and that is 5th within his class, so 5th of the AMs. Safety car in at the end of this lap then, so the race director is happy that the road is clear. The recovery vehicle makes its way off the circuit, and so we will go racing this time around. Lights are out on top of the safety car. It's going to give us, what, 10 minutes? And the best laps they were doing early on when the road was dry, 2:21s. Well, now we are probably able to get close to that because the road has dried out fairly swiftly. When the next shower comes, who knows? Probably just in time for the 24 hours. But as the cars come now into Blanchimont, there's confirmation that the Danny Cruz entry will be given the penalty at the end of the race. Safety car in this time, and we're good to go. Weaving to try and get the tyre temperatures and the tyre pressures up, and the safety car peels into the pit lane so we can get back underway any moment, although the driver's still discovering the relative amounts of grip. It's all a bit tippy-toey going through the chicane as now Kevin Gilardoni accelerates out of the chicane. There's a good restart there over Raoul Gutzman, so the Oregon car is gone as they come over the line down towards La Source. 2nd place is Gutzman, 3rd is Maxime Houston, and then Max Weering should be in 4th place, but you've got some of the back markers around him, and there is 61 Max Weering being delayed Others run out of road, run out of grip, run out of ideas going into La Source. And now Max Wearing in the black and gold car tries to pick his way through the traffic. Down the hill he goes, and it works for him. Gains ground, gains places, heads through Eau Rouge, makes the climb up the other side. Rejoining after a stop there goes Josef Zaruba. And as the cars now pound up the hill once again, we've got 9.5 minutes on the clock and counting, but it is Kevin Gilardoni who leads the way then. Gets to Les Combes, turns into the right, the left, the right again. Some enthusiastic fans watching on as the cars are released again. A great noise that these cars make. A big, big battle going on here. Number 16 is Karol Bash. Now he leads in Pro-Am, but he wants to try and claim a few more scalps overall if he can, and he's right there on the back of Max Wearing now, so 4th and 5th they run through Bruxelles. Down again into Speaker's Corner. The quicker of the two looks as though it is Karol Bash. We've seen him run in the Pro as well as the Pro-Am competition, and he gets more and more experience, and he gets quicker and quicker and quicker season on season, does Karol. Raced in the Italian GT Championship in Lamborghinis, what else, as well as in Super Trofeo, so now very much a specialist in this type of car. Real shame that we didn't have the pole car in the race of Noah Watt and Sebastian Balthazar after its incident yesterday, but hopefully Noah Watt will be back with us for the Nurburgring doubleheader, because that's another very rapid combination of drivers, as was evinced by the fact that Noah put the car onto the front row of the grid yesterday. But right now, Bash, the Pro-Am leader, tries to find a way up past Max Wearing. He doesn't need to, because the class points will go his way, but there's pride at stake here. Kevin Gilardoni for the race lead, still trying to break clear. Through they come now into the long left of Blanchimont, and then on towards the chicane. So what are we doing in terms of lap time? 2:21 was the best. Let's see what this is going to be from the restart. As Gilardoni tries to find the drier part of the circuit coming into the chicane. Raul Gutzman, the Mexican, closing up behind him. And Maxime Houston, who is there in 3rd place, could be a bit of a dark horse, as out wide goes Gilardoni. That's one of those track limit moments that will get looked at. Kevin Gilardoni out wide coming out of turn 19. Gutzman is there behind him. Houston is right on the tail now. So Gutzman 2nd, and Maxime Houston inching up onto the back. Max Wearing 4th, Karol Bash 5th, Michael Durbecker 6th. Down the hill they go. And Danny Cruz and Oliver Frymart have made up places. Now Frymart has had a really, really good run here. I think he might have been helped a little bit by when he pitted in the safety car, but he started 27th on the grid and he's running in 8th place. And Oliver Frymart is one of the outs. So the race has fallen into his lap rather here, but Oliver Frymart going really, really well. So as he is about to break the beam, the leaders come up towards Les Combes. Attack here, Karol Bash round the outside, goes 4th at the expense of Max Wearing. He's done it, he's gone by. So through goes the Polish driver, but now the rain is falling again up at the top of the hill, and the wipers are on, and the road is all of a sudden slippery. So it was pretty dry during the safety car period. Now they need to push on. All of a sudden it's got greasy again at the top of the hill. So as the field falls downhill for the 16th time, Kevin Gilardoni trying to build this gap over Raul Gutzman. It is Maxime Houston in that 3rd place, then 4th now Karol Bash, there he is, and an outright podium could be on the cards yet, the way that Karol Bash is going, never mind just a Pro-Am win. He's a very, very accomplished driver. Kevin Gilardoni has got 6 minutes on the clock, and he now turns into the Piff-Paff. So as the cars go down to the right-hander of Campus, then on towards the Cours Paul Frere, battle is on now. This is for 3rd and 4th places, sorry, so 2nd and 3rd places, because Houston has got ahead of Gutzman. He's done it, he's made his way by, and all of that gives an even bigger gap now to the race leader. So Kevin Gilardoni streaks away, but as Gutzman drops 1 place, could he drop another? Karol Bash closing, and the way that Houston is going suggests that he is going to be able to drop the Mexican. And what can he do about the race leader? He was 1.6 seconds back. They are going to squeeze 2 more laps out of this, I would suggest. Down to the chicane comes Gilardoni. Into the right, into the left, up towards the line they come now. So as the leaders head over the line, Karol Bash makes his move for third place, so Maxime Houston is 1.6 seconds back off the leader. There he is, and on the outside line for third, Karol Bash tries to secure the place, and he should get the drive off the corner, puts a wheel on the curb, but that doesn't matter because he held it, but he does not get the traction down well enough to snatch third place away from Gutzman. Down the hill they go, into Eau Rouge once again. Lap 17 we start, and Gilles Ardoni trying to preserve that advantage over Houston. That's the first thing to keep an eye on. But then as far as third and fourth are concerned, Gutzman and Bash together. And again, Karol Bash looks the quicker heading up the hill here. Makes the move on the outside line. He's got the job done, surely, because he's ahead as they get towards the braking point, but he's on the wrong line. No, work was done. He gets it done before the corner, brakes very, very late, and may have gone a bit deep into Les Cons, but Gilles Ardoni cares not. Yeah, Bash did go off the circuit and over the curb, but he hangs on to the place there. So as the cars now make the descent to Bruxelles, still greasy there, but not actually as bad as it was a lap ago. It's such a challenge for the drivers. They think they know what the grip levels are like, and lap after lap they find that they're completely alien again. In the first sector of the lap, Gilles Ardoni pulling away from Maxime Houston, so he's getting the message here. Keep pushing. There'll be one more lap to run at the end of this, and push he is. Now down through left-hander of Pouhon goes that third, fourth, fifth train. There's the race leader, and Karol Bash is closing for second on Maxime Houston, isn't he? Fourth, Raoul Gutzman is coming under attack from Max Weering there. So this battle is starting to take up attention with now, what have we got, 3 more minutes of the race to go. A lap at the end of this, that's all pretty much now. A spin there for Libor Dvoracek, and he was in 18th place overall. Dvoracek second in his class. Did he get there with a bit of an assist? No, all on his own. Ran out wide, lost traction, and around he goes. So Dvoracek will try to rejoin, but that might well have cost him second in class to to Gerald van der Horst, I have to say. Gerald van der Horst back into the championship, and he will take up second spot. Now, for second overall, Maxime Houston is under real pressure from Karol Bash. The leader comes up towards the line and will go through. So past the pits now goes the race leader, Kevin Gilles Ardoni. That last lap was a 2 minutes 34. So this should now be the last lap of the race for him as the cars turn their way downhill. Karol Bash then onto the back of Maxime Houston. This is for second and third places. Karol Bash well clear in Pro-Am. That's the main focus. Good recovery by Guillaume Peugeot to be second in the class and Oscar Lee to be third. They're getting themselves up past Oliver Frymart now for the overall placings. Frymart's still the leading Am, but Gabriele Rindoni is with him. So a lot can yet change on these last few laps as the cars pound uphill again. So race leader Kevin Gilles Ardoni into Les Cons for the last time. Second and third, Houston versus Bash. And there you've got Gutzman and Weering still arguing over fourth place. So Raoul Gutzman's car has dropped back a little bit here, but he's still going strongly, trying to bank points. The cars now make that run down the hill yet again. So down through Bruxelles to the outside line goes Karol Bash, looking for a bit more grip maybe on the outside. Doesn't work for him. And any thoughts Maxime Houston had of going after the race leader have gone now. He's got to try and defend that second place as the cars drop down the hill for the last time. Into Pouhon they turn. Nose to tail, Karol Bash. How much is he prepared to force the issue then in that third place car? A class win beckons, the class point to what he needs, and there for fourth and fifth place is Gutzman versus Weering as they go now into the pith path. For the last time down towards Campus, and it looks as though Bash has got the pace to find a way past, but the VS Racing team possibly on the radio saying to him, you don't need to be doing this, you just need to win the class unless you've got mega pace, unless an opportunity presents. There's no need to force the issue, but it looks like it is going to be a win for Kevin Gilles Ardoni and Leonardo Porcini. That will be the fourth victory of the season. Down to the chicane, the checkered flag is at the ready, and here comes Karol Bash to try to make that move on the outside line. He's ahead, he does take second, he gets the job done, and he almost catches the race leader for the bargain. So it's going to be a sprint to the line. Kevin Gilles Ardoni will hang on to take the race win. Win number 4 for Leonardo Porcini and Kevin Gilardoni for second place over the line. Karol Bash and Andrei Lewandowski to win in Pro-Am. Third, Maxime Houston and Milan Tikens, with fourth going the way of Raoul Gutzman and Glenn van Berlo. Then we await the rest of the classes, really, as the battles rage lower down the field. There you can see number 7, which is the Jonathan Chicotto car after a second pit stop. Another race that's got away for them. So they've had pretty poor luck over the course of the season. Sometimes it's been incidents, sometimes it has been penalties, but another place lost by Frymart, who, as I say, got himself to 8th, possibly because he was on wet tyres, but I think the pace of the car is such now that it's all dropping away, and Oliver Frymart trying to hang on to win the Am class, but there's no guarantee because he is going slower and slower towards the end of the race, and Gabriele Rindoni trying to close on him, and then you've also got Clovis Gosselin not that far behind in the Bussen-Gignon entry, running 3rd in the class. So after all the rain-affected elements of the race, the sun is shining at the very end of it, and as the drivers make the run up towards the checkered flag, we've just had going through in 6th place Michael Dorbecker, the Mexican. 7th, Danny Cruz, Dan Pell's car. 5-second penalty, but he should keep its place because we've not yet got Am Podium through. Oliver Frymart then down to the chicane. Karol Bash and Andrei Lewandowski win the Pro-Ams. Oscar Lee and Dan Wells 2nd, and they're 3rd. Guillaume Peugeot and Massimo Siglia. So that car's yo-yo race lost places again on the last lap. Oliver Frymart wins the Ams ahead of Clovis Gosselin and Marc Rostin, and the 3rd Am car home should be Gabriele Rindoni. Let's see whether that's the case, because he's been delayed on his last lap. There going through in the background is Peter Matic. That's the winning car, and Rindoni has gone AWOL by the look of it on the last lap somewhere. He's not yet come over the line. The winning Lamborghini Cup entry, Hans Fabry, not for the first time this year, from Gerald van der Horst, and then Libor Dvoracek after his spin. So we have lost Rindoni. He's got going now to the line. Yes, he was badly delayed on his last lap. I think he had a spin out of sight of the chicane, but Gabriele Rindoni has made it home. And Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Porcini then take a 4th win of the season in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. So the cars complete this in-lap, will then make their way to Parc Ferme and then to the podium, or podiums, because there are many for the different classes. So Kevin Gilardoni, Leonardo Porcini, they've made a good combination this year, driving for the Oregon team, which, like I said early on, has made a big impact this year. And there is the explanation of why losing pace at the end was Guillaume Peugeot, because he got tagged into a spin at the chicane. Yellow flags out as a consequence. So right at the very end, people having their dramas in what was, as ever, a very lively race within the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. So the drivers now come down the pit road. Teams will receive the cars, and the top 3 will be kept at the foot of race control for Parc Ferme, and that's the top 3 across the classes. There you've got Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Porcini's car. Behind Maxime Houston and Milan Tikens, already back Karol Bash as the Pro-Am winner, but also taking 2nd place overall. Opens. Leonardo Porcini congratulates teammate Kevin Gilardoni. And it's a very happy Kevin who gets out of the very colourful Oregon entry. And the drivers then celebrate win number 4. It's looking very, very good for the championship leaders, all of this. And Kevin Gilardoni, Leonardo Porcini with the distinctive Lamborghini green boots on, stands proudly by his winning car. Helmet off for Kevin Gilardoni. And one or two rather more disappointed drivers stalk back to their team. Let's have a word with our winners, though. Gemma Scott is down there.
Boys, congratulations, 4th win of the season, and you were pushing so hard. Did you have any idea at the end there how close Carol Bash was?
Yeah, honestly, the grip was changing every lap in every corner because in the back straight was raining, and so one time was slippery and one time was like grippy. So it's been really, really difficult. Also the restart from the safety car. But as we say with Leo and the team, our target was looking in front and push as much as we can. So we did it, and we take the 4 consecutive, not consecutive, but the 4 wins. So we're also happy about that, and we want to continue like this.
Absolutely, Leonardo, from the start there, the rain was just on, off. It was tough.
Yeah, it was a tricky race. I mean, I had a good start. The car was very good. Then suddenly started to rain, but I just want to keep on track. I was talking a lot with my engineer to see how it will be with the rain, and I just want to keep on track. The team did an amazing job. Unlucky the safety car came in, otherwise we had around 17 or 20 gaps to the P2, but Kevin did a job done, so I'm very happy.
Congratulations once again. Thanks very much.
So well done to Leonardo Porcini and Kevin Gilardoni. The sister car having its dramas right at the end of the race, as you saw, number 27 of Massimo Siglia and Am Podium having that spin. But the car did recover and it finished in 10th place. So the drivers there discussing their individual races. Andrei Lewandowski and Karol Bash as Pro-Am winners once more. That is what win number 5 for them of the year. So Kevin Gilardoni, Leonardo Porcini the win. From Karol Bash and Andrei Lewandowski the Pro-Am win. 3rd Milan Tikens and Maxime Ooston. 4th from Raul Gutzmann and Glenn van Berlo. Max Weering 5th ahead of Michael Duerbecker and Mattia Michelotto's entry. 7th with a penalty, Dan Pell and Danny Cruz, yesterday's winners. 8th, another of the Pro-Am entries, Dan Wells and Oscar Lee ahead of Jonathan Chicotto and Kevin Rossell, which was still not a bad result. 9th after 2 pit stops. 10th, Guillaume Pujol and Massimo Siglia. Oliver Frymart was the winning Am in 11th, winning Lamborghini Cup entry, Hans Fabry in 17th place. And as you can see, some retired and one, that of Han Hui Lin, never quite got to the start. So next stop for the championship will be the Nurburgring in early September, and the drivers in some cases will be on track later on today in the 24 hours. In other championships they will be busy in the meantime, but then it will reconvene at the GT World Challenge Europe event in Germany in early September. Replay of the best bits of the race, with that good start being made down to La Source by Leonardo Porcini for pole position, trying to hang on to the lead of the race. They turned their way out of La Source on a dry road for the moment, but he was coming under attack from Glenn van Berlo in 2nd place, and then Danny Cruz and Dan Pell's car running 3rd. It was Dan Pell at the wheel for the opening stint, but it gradually fell away. There was a little bit of damage also picked up in the pack by the car of Ray Calvin and Matthias Hofsummer out of the chicane. Battles raged, and then Josef Zaruba made this rather banzai effort to get past the car of Mattia Michelotto down at La Source. And not only was he out of the race, but the team manager is now being summoned to see the stewards. We had a spin for Massimo Siglia coming out of the left-hander of Speaker's corner. He got back in the race despite the rear damage, only for Guillaume Pujol, his co-driver, to have another drama of his own late race as the track conditions got greasy. Off the road slithered Mattia Michelotto and Michael Duerbecker's car, and it all became very challenging indeed on the racetrack as some of the Am drivers, the less experienced, found themselves in trouble, like Daniel Waszinski, for example, who charged the barrier and as a consequence of that fell way down the field. We had a spin for Dimitri Vatseva, and that car would be off the road again before much longer. Andrea Kohler at the wheel of it had his own incident on a wetter road, and the net result of that was that we needed the safety car. There was this incident for Kumar Prabhakaran being given a bit of a nudge coming out of the pit lane by Danny Cruz, and the consequence of that was a penalty for Cruz. This was the spin that brought out the safety car as Andrea Kohler rotated coming up through Radion, clouted the wall, and the car needed to be retrieved. So on the restart, the field battled into La Source. It was still wet, it was still slippery, and now you had back markers mixed in with the cars on the lead laps. And there's quite a bit for some of the fast drivers to sort out, with the grip level changing all the time. Some laps it was better, some laps it had got much worse again. The sun was breaking through, rain was falling elsewhere, and the real hero of the last few laps of the race, Karol Bash, who got second and oh so nearly got onto the back of the race leader up towards the checkered flag. Karol Bash and Andrei Lewandowski winning Pro-Am, Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Porcini winning the race outright. So the drivers then brought to the podium, and hopefully that ceremony will be underway shortly. Lamborghini supporting the Belgian Red Cross very vigorously this weekend, with the safety car carrying stickers and donations being made, and also supporting the idea of having the Belgian flags and the Belgian anthem played rather than flags and anthems of the winning teams. So there we have the drivers then onto the podium, and Milan Tikens and Maxime Oesten, the first drivers up for third place overall. Second, the drivers that win Pro-Am, we'll see them again in a bit, Andrei Lewandowski and Karol Bash. And then for the top step of the podium for the fourth time this year, Leonardo Porcini and his co-driver Kevin Gilardoni. The Oregon team wins once more here at Spa. So Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Porcini for the Italian Oregon team, winning in the second race of the weekend. Yesterday's winners, Dan Pell and Danny Cruz, today finishing 7th with that penalty being applied. So well done to the top 3 crews from our overall podium. Pro-Am will be next, so Andrei Lewandowski and Karol Bash don't have to go far, and they will trade silver for gold trophies next. Drivers being called forward for the photographs, and then on to the Pro-Am podium as quick as possible. 4 podiums to get through for the Super Trofeo organisers, and the next one for Pro-Am, which again gave plenty of good racing, and a 5th class win for Andrei Lewandowski and Karol Bash. So now the drivers being called forward, and it is Guillaume Pugui and Massimo Siglia that come forward for 3rd in Pro-Am. Second in Pro-Am, it will be Oscar Lee and Dan Wells. Oh, Oscar needs his trophy. There you are, says Dan. You have that one, I'll have this. So well done, Dan. Well done, Oscar. Big smiles all round. And they make their way onto the podium. But win number 5 of the year in Pro-Am for Andrei Lewandowski and for Karol Bash. They have done it again. Top step of the podium for the VS Racing drivers. And the drivers adorned with their masks, which is a requirement at Spa this weekend. And Karol Bash and Andrei Lewandowski then on the podium. Everybody being marshalled together, ready for the official photos. And then the Pro-Am drivers quickly step forward. More photographers and family and friends in the pit lane that want a shot as well. So the Pro-Am top 3 with a very happy Dan Wells. I think he's just happy to be racing in Europe again, actually, being a very jolly character. Now the AMs are going to be next, and Gabriele Rindoni is going to be on the podium for 3rd place, the Luxembourgish driver. There he is, after another busy race for him, new to the series. Second goes to Marc Rostin and Claude Gosselin. And then for the top step of the podium, after a really good drive up from the last on the grid, Oliver Frymart it is who takes the AM class win. Oliver Frymart there makes his way onto the podium. Oliver Frymart, who's been racing for many, many years in Renault one-mate categories, and we've seen him in the new GT2 class this year as well, but enjoying his racing in Super Trofeo and enjoying the ability to have a long race, but on his own, because you can, if you so desire, as you see, choose to drive solo. And that is what he has done. Oliver Frymart then for the AKF Motorsport team is victorious. and Claude Gosselin, Marc Rostin second, Gary Arundoni taking third. So the next podium is for the Lamborghini Cup drivers, and those are for the least experience coming into the series, aimed at the real gentleman drivers, the real rookies, if you like, who might have just done track days and want to go racing. And for third place there is going to be Libor Dvoracek, who would have been second but for the spin. Second place goes to multiple champion in this class, Gerald van der Horst. And then for the top step of the podium, Hans Fabry, and that for him is a fourth win of the season. Hans Fabry for Imperiali Racing steps forward at the end of another very successful race. So Hans Fabry then for the top step of the podium in Lamborghini Cup, and he is a happy man indeed. So fourth win for Hans Fabry. Imperiali Racing, another of the top teams that we have within the championship, and he celebrates honours, steps forward with the class winners trophy from Pirelli and the Lamborghini Gold Trophy, shaped like the car, gold, silver and bronze awarded. There are final podium then here for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, race 2 of the weekend, race 8 of the championship. We'll see you at the Nurburgring then. For now, from David Addison and Gemma Scott, it's goodbye.